Today, we're going to discuss prepositions and prepositional phrases. Our objectives are to define prepositions and to learn to identify them in texts, to analyze the structure of prepositional phrases, and to identify the functions of these phrases in sentences and texts. This lecture will consist of 3 parts, each focusing on one objective. Let's start with prepositions. What are prepositions? Let's begin discovering this part of speech by looking at this text, an excerpt from the novel A Room with a View by E.M. Forster. Most examples in this lecture will come from the book. So, have a look at this text and read it carefully. "The Signora had no business to do it," said Miss Bartlett. "No business at all. She promised us south rooms with a view close together, instead of which here are north rooms looking into a courtyard, and a long way apart. Oh, Lucy." Now that you have read the text, pause the lecture for a minute and think about this. What do the highlighted words do in this text? Write your ideas on a piece of paper. Pause now. Ready? As you can see, sometimes it is difficult to say what exactly the prepositions mean, but we can clearly determine that they connect words in a sentence, establishing relationships between them. For example, the preposition with connects the phrase that describes the rooms to the phrase south rooms itself, and the preposition into connects the direction of the gaze to the word looking. Prepositions are words that belong to the closed class. If you remember, this is a group of words that do not add new members easily, if at all. The Oxford English Dictionary, for example, records that the last preposition to be added to the English language is the word post, as in, this process began post-pandemic, or many people were depressed and dejected post 9/11. The first recorded use of this preposition was in 1965, and the prepositional use likely developed out of the already existing prefix post that attached itself to adjectives and nominal pre-modifiers of nouns, as in the post-war world or the postpartum depression. In the meantime, hundreds of new nouns and verbs get created every year, with some entering the language permanently, such as the verb to Google or the noun YouTuber, and some disappearing within weeks or even days of their appearance. Does anyone remember who or what an ambiturner is? Highly unlikely. New prepositions do not enter English, or any language for that matter, often. Therefore, they're a closed class. The job of prepositions is to indicate relationships between phrases. Prepositions, words such as to, from, in, out, with, at, and so on, show the direction, location, time, accompaniment, reason, and other concepts. In fact, we divide prepositions into several semantic categories based on these concepts. For example, prepositions such as in, on, at, into, to, from, across, under, over, and so on indicate spatial relations, while prepositions before, after, in, on, at, for, since, and so on indicate time. And yes, some prepositions, especially in, on, and at, do double duty by showing both space and time. Time and space are 2 predominant categories of prepositions, occurring most frequently in both written and oral discourse. But other categories expressed by prepositions include cause or purpose, accompaniment, concession, and many, many other fine-grained semantic concepts. The total number of prepositions in English is not particularly small, somewhere between 150 and 200, depending on the variety of the language. But it is not even comparable to tens of thousands of nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. The Oxford English Dictionary estimates that there are approximately 170,000 words in English, so prepositions constitute a tiny drop in the ocean of words. So, prepositions belong to a closed class. They are not particularly numerous, and they serve to connect phrases in a sentence or an utterance. They do so by taking on complements and creating prepositional phrases. We will discuss prepositional phrases in the next 2 sections of the lecture.